Hi guys, good afternoon. I realized that we didn't really fully go over decreasing when we were talking about our beaded bezel around our pie stone. So here's a quick little tutorial on doing a decrease. Now this is a piece of flat, even count peyote. It works the same no matter whether we're in the round or flat or even or odd count. It doesn't really matter. There's a couple of ways to do a decrease. One of them is to just continue right across without adding a bead in the spot. So you can see right here that my thread's coming out of this black bead, this dark blue thread, and if I put a bead here, I'll just have the regular peyote. If I go straight across with my thread, that will pull those two black beads close together, and that'll help me make a decrease. The other way to make a decrease is to stitch down into the white bead and then back out this black bead. And that gives me a little smoother decrease, and it keeps the thread from showing. So let's do that one, okay? So I'm going to take my needle, I'm going to stitch into that white bead, so I'm going to the row below, come through, come back out the black bead, and you'll see when I start to tug that in a little bit that the space begins to decrease. So it's a little bit smaller space in there than over here, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and continue this row. And I just did a short piece so we didn't have to spend a lot of time doing this. I'm going to continue across this row, turn around and go back to that decrease spot. So all peyote stitch has the same kind of decreases or increases. So increase would just be the opposite, putting two beads in the space of where one is. And then next time through on the row, treating that two beads as two separate beads. Right? Just a couple more here. Okay, so now I'm coming out of the white bead, and you can see that this gap here is pretty large. And I could go across with just one bead there, but that again would make that gap kind of bumpy looking. So to even it out, I'm going to actually pick through my black beads and find a couple of slightly slimmer ones. Black beads tend to be a little fatter than the white. Actually, you know what? I'll do it with my blue beads, then you can see where it goes. So two blue beads into that white bead, straight across. Oops, sorry, I unthreaded my needle. Kate would say that's because your thread's too short. You need to have a longer thread. That's okay. So two blue beads. Go right across that gap into that white bead. And now as I pull this together, you can see that my work is beginning to pucker just a little bit, but it's getting smaller across. Now on my next turn, when I do that next row, I'll keep that bead the same as one, treat those two beads just like one bead. Okay, so let's turn around and go back the other way. Going through that black bead. And so these two double blue beads, I'm going to treat them as one bead. Go through again. So that's now an up bead. So when you're doing things with peyote, keep in mind that generally the changes you make take a couple of rows to come into effect. So in essence, this is actually taking like 3 rows to make this decrease really happen. And I'll show you a second decrease in a minute. Let's get back over there and go across that decrease one more time. Okay? So I'm decreasing down instead of just going straight across. I went underneath the group where I normally would go across, and then I came out and continued on. That's one of the decreases that you might do with peyote in the round, so that you can see where the decrease is happening. Now, I expect to hear some comments and some questions, so please let me know when you have a problem and you want to have some clarity. I'm happy to go over it again. And if you're lucky, I'll even send you a little diagram. Okay? So now my decrease is complete. Okay?